Well, hello. Well, I finally unlocked it. Well, all I gotta do is get rid of the music real quick. If I can remember which one it is. Oh, audio. Alright. I don't want this to get demonetized if there is one. I think I'm good. I just got rid of the music. Here we go. Hmm. I finally unlocked it somehow. I don't know how I did. I guess it happened after I got multiple of those um well, I think I unlocked it when I started the game so many times and got the different data collection stuff, like setting the time and changing the scale, the sliders and stuff. Eventually said that, well, I have nothing else to collect on you, and I think I unlocked it. It was a pain in the butt. Mm, mm. I'm gonna follow the moon. This is pretty cool. I actually don't know what to expect. If I follow the rising sun, yeah. Aw. We have a building. There should be a same building where you had the skip button. Oh, this is the memory place. We still have a running generator? This is cool. I did turn the music off because I don't want to risk, yeah, as I said, getting copyright claim. Hmm. I did watch some tutorials trying to figure out how to get this, but it's random for each person, so I really can't get it right. Hmm. This place is nothing. The world has turned to sand. If I remember correctly, there's a bunch of figurines around here. Here is gone. Huh. more spin-offs, no more sequels.
Jim, Stanley.
Oh, they made a Stanley button finally. That was nice of them to give me a set of the free trophies on top of our already own. Wait. Okay. Nice to meet you, but it's terrible to learn that there will never be another Stanley Parable game. Did you read that the developer said? Question mark. Preserve the integrity of the franchise. How nonsense. Or what nonsense? The Stanley Parable is not afraid, or is not scared. We do not need to protect it. Screw the legacy. Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes. Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back. And if people hate it, who cares? You see, that was the narrator's problem. He was so obsessed with what people thought of his work. Don't make his mistake. Don't cling to the legacy. Let it burn. It's not hard. In fact, let me show you. Together we are going to make the Stanley Parable 3. It's simple. All we do is change the number in the game title screen. We also need a reality dumb subtitle for the game. Something loud and grandy. Oh, I can't see my screen right. Go ahead, try combining these random words together to make a new title for our game. Stanley Parable 3. Legend of the Lawsuit? No. Temple of Bomb, Temple of Lawsuit. Yes. Temple of Lawsuit. Stanley Parable 3, Temple of Lawsuit. It's absurd. I love it. Every time you restart the game, we'll advance the number of the sequel by one, and then we'll pick a new subtitle. That way, Stanley Parable will never end. And never in and never and nothing in the game itself will change when you do this either. Add more content sounds like work. No need to do that. Will just be the same content recycled again and again and again with a new title screen. What do you say? Question mark. Should we go forward with the plan? Like it, but I want your say. Yes, do it. Let's do it. Good. Then it's agreed. A new sequel every time you start the game. And you know what? Since you've put faith in the idea, I feel like giving you something as well. You see, I'm noticing that the narrator never found a way to give you the broken trophy. Did he? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to know how. It's been bothering me. Let's fix it. Alright, there. The trophy machine is all fixed. You see, I am on your side. We're in this together. We're going to keep this train rolling. The Stanley Parable can't end. It can only spiral in on itself forever. I must keep this wheel turning. I'm ready. Are you ready? Great. There's only one last thing we need to do. Please enter the current time. Thank you. Please enjoy Stanley Parable. Temple of Lawsuit. Let's begin. Took for me to get here, but I did.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I played this one too many times. Stanley entered the new content room. What was he to expect? He came across a sign. Return to Stanley Parable 2 Expo Hall. Stanley hastily went on through the room, unaware of what he was about to find. Would he finally get that broken trophy? Or was this a trap? Just have to find out for himself. Stanley entered the elevator.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Sorry, I'm back. Had to change a controller. Stanley exited the elevator. Came to a familiar place. This was deja vu for him. He vaguely recalls the Stanley Parable 2 promotion.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Stanley let the narrator ramble on. He vaguely remembers all this. But of course, his memory was vague from every time he had to restart the game.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Stanley wandered the halls, going through glass doors. Not really sure what to expect. But Stanley pushed on forward.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Again, Stanley let the narrator ramble on. Confused and a little baffled why the narrator would say such a thing. Usually you would have an idea of what you want your game to be. Not leave it to fuzzy luck. Stanley came to a hall. It was directing him to a direction. But Stanley had no choice. Everything was roped off. Where was the audience? Stanley went through the query line and up the stairs. He came to a big open area, which simply stated the Stanley Parable 2. What would he find here? Would the promised trophy be available? Stanley had to find out for himself.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Before Stanley went for the trophy, he looked around. He came across t-shirts that were ridiculous, to be honest. He skipped the bucket. Exhibition this time. Stanley entered a random room. Office decor.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Stanley knew from a previous visit. Whatever he chose, the narrator would choose the opposite. Stanley wanted something new. So, this time, he chose Happy 12th Birthday Stepniece, knowing the narrator would choose Get Better Someday. So, Stanley chose this button instead.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Of course, Stanley knew this would be a result. And so, this would be the new feature that would be presented. Stanley pushed forward.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Stanley knew that the narrator would never change his decision if he were to hit the other button. So he moved on. Stanley felt he could be a little greedy. He went to go see if it was available for another Stanley figurine. Unfortunately, it was out of order. So Stanley went for the trophy that he was promised. Could it be true? Would they grant him this free trophy? Or is the machine still broken? We would have to find out.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test trophy that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the trophy. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the trophy will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
The narrator didn't know that this lever has been fixed. Or at least should have been.
As you can see, the machine is not working yet since... Wait, what in the holy hell is going on? You got the trophy? Why did the machine work? Stanley, I didn't fix it. I didn't do anything to it. I swear, it was broken just a second ago. Who fixed it? Is someone here? Are we being watched? Oh, God. Composure, composure. Yes, as you can see, the machine is working as normal, as I intended. It truly speaks to the awe-inspiring magic of the Stanley Parable 2. Breathe. Just breathe.
Stanley was not baffled by the reaction to the narrator. Stanley knew if he pulled the lever, he would receive the trophy. The coveted trophy that he was trying to get this whole time. As a result, Stanley just wandered off, knowing that he, in fact, got the trophy he was promised. The narrator, of course, took credit for this decision, not knowing that powers outside of his control made this possible. Ah, how you doing?
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
I finally got the elusive broken trophy. Looks like... Ah, yes. Let's go for a black hole. I received notification of your video. I haven't quite watched it yet. I was trying to complete this.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
It's a semi or nearly infinite hole, but I don't wish to ruin the narrator's accomplishments. Let me see what your video was. I gotta be careful. I do have the microphone on. Let me see what it is. the more I sit here, it still goes towards my accomplishments, so I don't really care about wasting it here. There ain't no speedrun that I have to worry about. Oh, Watchdog Legions, huh? Very cool. I'll watch it later. If I even try to play part of it, it's gonna auto flag for a copyright. I want a free copyright one that doesn't have any problems. Those are in here.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well.
Reset it.
Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Modern Warfare 3 and Jedi, huh? I'll check them out later. Alright. I have one last achievement. Oh, it opened for me.
Ah, I can see you've gotten the Settings World Champion trophy. Well done. You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called bumpscosity. What exactly is bumpscosity? Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I know that you'll be able to adjust it on some sort of slider and that it'll be accessible from the settings menu. We'll sort out the rest of the details later. I hope you're looking forward to trying out every level of bumpscosity in the Stanley Parable 2.
So a new mini game, bumpscosity. Yeah, no problem. Alright, that's cool. I have another one to work on. Oh, you can strip leave, huh? Let's see here. I guess I can just leave. The jump button was supposed to do something if I was smart and didn't ruin it, but I can't really start over now. I'll do it once I get all the stuff. Epilogue should still be available. I'll go for the exit. Let's just get out of here. Oh, I think they fixed the Stanley button. Wait, where's the Stanley button? Ah.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, yes. Say my name.
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Jim.
Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you. The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Jim.
Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim button. I'm too emotionally drained from all of this personal validation.
I'm not gonna have him withdraw the button. Alright. Stanley left your button name. What was he going
I
to
suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
But the narrator knew that would be a horrible decision. Please, no screenshots. Wow. How did he know he could take a screenshot? Stanley headed for the exit, skipping the bucket entirely.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Yes, maybe this time the bucket would not present itself. Only one could hope.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Ooh. I'll be back. I gotta go
Well,
check
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Of course, Stanley didn't care about these. Stanley just cared about getting some time in on a Tuesday to complete the last objective. Stanley Parable 3 Temple of Lawsuit has a catchy title, doesn't it? Of course, I can change the title by going back to the epilogue, but I choose not to. Same game, nothing else changes.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427.
And no, I will not be repeating that again and again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
What was my objective?
It's
Hours
bucket time.
played. I need to accumulate 12 hours of gameplay.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
The catch is, with the bucket, I have not been here before. So how can you add more stickers to something that doesn't?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
How's that possible if it's the first time playing?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
All I gotta do is waste time. Oh, that's new. What did I just access?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Wait, Stanley. I've just now realized. That bucket you're holding, it's the bucket I've been working on for my sequel. How did you get your hands on it? Isn't this the preview to the sequel? How do you have the bucket already? This makes no sense at all.
I love the narrator.
Hold on. Did I already show you my ideas for the sequel? I don't remember doing that at all. You're seeing things all out of order.
Come on.
What order are all of these endings arranged in exactly? Oh, bloody hell, this game is far too complicated. Wait, so this means you must have already been to my exhibit on the Stanley Parable too, because how else would you have the bucket?
It's a Back to the Future scenario. Narrator.
The infinite hole, the gym button. Did you see them already? Stanley, none of them are ready yet. I'm still developing them. They're not even close to finished. How did they look when you saw them? Were they captivating? Were they exciting? Did they fulfill on the promise of everything that a sequel to Stanley Parable could possibly be? Had I figured out how the hell to make a sequel to this game? Wait, if you're still carrying the bucket around with you, if the bucket is interesting to you, that means I must have made it correctly. Yes, you carrying the bucket with you everywhere is exactly what I set out to accomplish. The bucket is the exciting and captivating new content that I promised. I did it! I win! I made a sequel to the Stanley Parable! Yes, the sign is correct. Thank you for enjoying the new content. Thank you for taking the bucket everywhere with you, clinging tightly to the bucket, never letting it go. It means I've won. It means I am victorious over the gamers. It is a sweet salve of victory on my soul. Thank you for enjoying the new content. The bucket is the Stanley Parable now. They are one and the same. There is no Stanley Parable without the bucket. I win, 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 I win.
Tell yourself whatever you want, narrator. I want the narrator to think he's actually happy and doesn't have a nervous breakdown. Ow. Ow. All you gotta do is just waste time. I gotta waste actual time.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Unfortunately, I might protect this later.
It's bucket time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Sure.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter, his one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Okay. All I got left is to rank up 24 hours time in the Stanley Parable.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
It's bucket time.
Stanley clung the bucket to his cheek. Could his co-workers really all be gone? Yes, whispered the bucket into Stanley's ear. We've done it. We've escaped from that dull office and that pesky narrator. At last, out here in the white void, we are alone. Now, and for the first time, I can reveal to you my true self. The bucket began to tell Stanley of its life and its history, of the countless wars it witnessed, desecrating the land and lives of untold numbers of innocent humans, and the bucket's own complicity therein, of sadness and regret, and the many years it spent dwelling on the actions it might have taken to curb the madness and the decay, if only it had been stronger, of hope and redemption, and its crusade to uplift the stock of life for the common man, to manifest justice where none existed, and the bittersweet reality of time, to see one's dreams and wishes met halfway, meted out in parcels like charity, and abandoned as soon as the warm glow of inspiration begins to dim. The opportunities to do so much more. There was so much it could have done, perhaps, the bucket wondered to itself. Perhaps, if it had seen its own darkness with a clearer perception. This was way too much for Stanley.
What are you talking about?
He screamed.
You're a bucket!
To this, the bucket furrowed its brow. No, said the bucket. Not since the evil wizard Gambhorata first ensnared me in his machinations as payback for the sacred amulet I stole from his treasured vaults. I was young back then and could not conceive the ramifications of...
No!
Stanley screamed even louder this time.
This is stupid! You are a bucket! This is so stupid! Why are we even doing this?
As Stanley screamed and screamed and screamed, the bucket revealed its true form, transforming into a mighty beast of untold power, its fangs glistening like... My God, Stanley, you did it. You saved us from the bucket. Thank God you already had all 12 emblems of sages and knew the incantations to summon their true power. Otherwise, we would have easily been overwhelmed by the bucket's power. I'm speechless. You've demonstrated such bravery here today. Come, let's restart the game, and we'll agree to never again go trifling with this bucket, nor the dark magic cast away inside of it.